The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
One of the things that Soledad brought up is that this was a Harvard law student introducing a Harvard law professor. Now,
I went to Harvard. She's such an idiot. I went to Harvard Law. Joel went to Harvard Law. You know, the idea that you randomly introduce students, you randomly introduce professors is just, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. I mean, first of all, the relationship extended long beyond that, and second of all, that's not the way that it works. I mean, even if you're a student, anybody who went to college knows this. Would you randomly be introducing a professor you didn't know at a major rally? I mean, nobody does that. Nobody does that. So, like, this idea that Obama just, he woke up one morning and decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to speak at the Derek Bell rally. He walked up to Derek Bell and was like, you know what, I'm going to introduce you. That's not how it works. And everybody knows it's not how it works. And by the way, I mean, you see that all of Obama's close associates are hanging around Derek Bell. In that video, one of the things that we haven't really pointed out till now, one of the people, the woman standing next to Derek Bell in that video and applauding and looking up at him, with this kind of these kind of adoring eyes because she admires him so much, is Cassandra Butts, who's a very, very close associate of President Obama's and who now works in the administration. So it's just the left can try and get out of this however they want. The facts are the facts. President Obama believes in critical race theory. He associated with people who believed in critical race theory. And we're not going after him based on race. We're going after him because he's the President of the United States and he has not been vetted. And we're going after the media at the same time because they want to cover for him.
And that's been the tradition since he began running for office, regardless of what the issue is. I mean, issues that if it were Sarah Palin or Michelle Bachmann or Christine O'Donnell, they would have been all over him. They've completely ignored. I think a great example of that is they went after Todd Palin because he got a DUI when he was 23. Well, Barack Obama Sr. got in 3 automobile accidents. He was drunk in every single one of them. In one of them, he killed another person in the other car. In another, he had to have his legs amputated because of the extensive damage. And in a third, he actually killed himself. So Barack Obama Sr. in 3 drunk driving accidents in which he was the actual drunk driving, and the media swept that under the rug. But Todd Palin, a DUI with no real consequences when he was 23, now that's news. And so it's...
It's unfortunate, but that's the way the media is covering it. And so this comes back to, Andrew's main point, which is that we need an army of citizen journalists. The media is not going to do its job. The media is not going to do its job. The media is simply going to continue its pattern of protecting President Obama. And so it's up to all of us to do the job that the media won't, which means that we are the ones who have to go out and do the research. If you have a tip, send it to us. If you have any information or any ideas, send it to us. We will track them down. It is our goal to vet not only President Obama, but all of our politicians, because an informed citizenry is a safe citizenry. An uninformed, ignorant citizenry is a citizenry that can be put under the thumb of just about anybody.
Well, I know you can't reveal what's coming next, but I don't want to sound like Jack Nicholson, saying, please tell me you have more. But I would hope these are going to become more and more intense, or perhaps more and more revealing of Obama's true character as time marches on.
Well, like I said, all we can tell you right now is that we will continue to vet the president, and that we do have more material in the can.
Over what period of time do you think you'll be releasing this material?
All the way up to the election.
All the way up to the election. Now, you said, we talked about...
Hopefully we won't have to beyond the election.
Hopefully. I'm going to put you in a tough situation because it's a subject that nobody wants to talk about, but you said if you have tips, contact us. Why isn't the mainstream media covering the eligibility issue? I mean, we have a birth certificate that looks like it was cut and pasted together by a third grader with Elmer's glue. We've got a Social Security card that won't pass E-Verify. We have a Selective Service card where the pica stamp is clearly faked. Hundreds and hundreds of cards have been looked at, and the 1 in the 9 in the year 1980 is only missing from one person's card. That's Barack Hussein Obama's. If you look at the birth certificate, one of the first things you look for in a forgery is a misspelled word. In the registrar's stamp, we have the word "the" spelled T-X-E. No other birth certificates coming out of Hawaii have that misspelling, but I could give you about 25 things. You're an intelligent guy. I know you understand computers. I could send you tapes that I've made of why this thing is fake. But yet the mainstream media is yawning at this, and so are a lot of conservative media outlets. Why?
Well, I'm one of the people who yawns at it because I think that the amount of conspiratorial intent that would have to go into falsifying this stuff from 40 years ago it's too heavy. There's no, to my knowledge, there's no evidence to suggest this, and I just don't believe it. So, I know there are people who are very concerned with this. I think it's a waste of resources because number one, I don't think it's true. Number two, even if it were true, it would have no impact on the political debate because nobody's going to do anything about it. So it's a waste of resources and it's a waste of time, and it makes people look like kooks even if they aren't. So I would recommend that. I would really recommend that people drop this topic and focus on who this president is as opposed to, an issue that is not going to be an issue in this election cycle, and something I believe to be baseless anyway.
Okay, well, let me go back to the Clinton era. We had an extensive amount of time to obsess over whether Bill Clinton received oral sex from Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. We've got time to obsess over American Idol and Dancing with the Stars and the Casey Anthony case. Why can't one more issue be brought on the table?
And look, any issue can be brought on the table. It's America. It's First Amendment stuff. I mean, if people want to expend time and energy doing this, that's fine. All I'm saying is this: most people, including me, don't believe it. Number two, it's it's not a story that's going to go anywhere because people are not interested in it. And number three, there's only a certain there's an amount of time in the day for everything. If you want to spend your time on that, and if other people want to spend their time on that, that's their issue. And again, it's America. You can do whatever you want. All I'm recommending is that if you're really concerned with President Obama being ousted from the Oval Office, then we ought to focus on his record. We ought to focus on who he is. We ought to focus on what he's done. Focus on all the issues that Americans really care about as opposed to this one.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Have you actually done any investigating yourself, or are you just going with the overall concept that it's so far-fetched that it can't be true?
Yeah, I mean, look, as a journalist, I've looked at the arguments on both sides. I don't think it's true. There are people who disagree. That's their prerogative. That's my own opinion. It's not something I'm going to spend my time on. I don't recommend that other people spend a ton of time on it because I just don't think that it's going anywhere. And again, I keep saying this over and over because I know Media Matter is going to listen to this. I don't think it's true. I think it's a complete waste of time. And I think that people should move beyond it.
How big a crime, because we are talking about forgery and treason here, how big a crime can a president commit and get away with it simply because people don't think it's an issue?
Well, I mean, if you're asking as a general matter, clearly presidents can get away with it. As a general matter, presidents can get away with an awful lot if people don't think it's an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, that's just the fact.
I'm going to be honest. I'm disappointed in your answer on that because I think that you said you've looked into it and you don't think it's true. I don't know what you've looked at, but I can tell you that I can point about 23 things that are wrong with this birth certificate that point to the fact that it had to be constructed on a computer. But forget about the birth certificate. If you're afraid of being called a birther, and a lot of people are, the Selective Service Card, if you don't register for Selective Service, you're not eligible for any executive position in the government. You're absolutely ineligible. So forget about the birth certificate. Forget about where he was born. The Selective Service Card is absolutely 100% faked, and that has been demonstrated very well in a video that Joe Arpaio showed at his press conference. This has nothing to do with where he was born. It has nothing to do with constitutional eligibility as far as the natural-born parent, natural-born citizen thing. This is Obama faking a Selective Service Card because he realized if he hadn't faked it, he wouldn't be eligible for president. It has nothing to do with where he was born. Would Breitbart.com be interested in looking at that?
I can't speak for Breitbart.com. I know that's not something that I'm particularly interested in looking at the moment. But if people are going to present evidence, then that's again, I don't want to be I don't want to speak for the company because I'm not the corporate spokesperson for Breitbart.
I understand. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, and I didn't mean to cover this issue that long, but I did want to get your opinion on it. I'm going to be honest. It's
and listen, I appreciate that you want my opinion on it. And again, everybody's free to spend their time investigating what they want. And if this is the way you want to vet the president, feel free to vet the president that way. And if you feel like you can prove the case, go for it. All I'm saying is that, from my own personal perspective, this is not what I'm choosing to spend my time on. I don't think it's an issue. I don't think many people within Breitbart think it's an issue. And so, we would prefer to spend our time and our efforts elsewhere.
Based on your research, how many people think that him palling around with Derek Bell is an issue?
I think that clearly the media does, right? I mean, it's been it's turned into a major media upset. Clearly, I mean, it's been covered on all the major networks, and I think that if we can judge from both our traffic and our emails, then we can say that a lot of people think it's an issue. But again, look, I'm not saying that nobody should investigate this stuff. If you want to investigate this stuff, that's your prerogative. I'm not discouraging anybody. Well, that's not true. I am discouraging people from spending time on this because I don't know. I don't want to lie. I mean, I am discouraging people because I think that number one, I don't think it's an issue. Number two, it's an issue on which people are being marginalized very easily and very quickly at this point. And if you want to be, and if we really want to focus on issues that are going to, get Obama that are going to reveal who Barack Obama is, then there are issues I think that are much better to play on. But this is, in my opinion, this is not one of them.
Okay.
And again, people can feel free to disagree. This is just my opinion.
I do disagree, but again, it's kind of interesting because I think a lot of people, you talked about being marginalized. I mean, that's straight out of the Saul Alinsky handbook. But the bottom line is this selective service card issue, which was kind of introduced in the first big way at the Sheriff Arpaio teleconference. I mean, it was clearly demonstrated how it was faked, why it has to be faked. I mean, we're talking about 500 selective service cards being reviewed. The only one that didn't have the date right, like Barack Obama's, was Barack Obama's. This thing is obviously faked. You can also tell by looking at, there's an issue with the DLN numbers, the DLN number in the upper right-hand portion of it. It's very easy to prove this thing is fake. And if it's fake, he's ineligible to be president. Not because he wasn't born in Hawaii, not because, his mom popped on a plane and for some unknown reason had a baby in Kenya when she had superior medical facilities available in the United States, but because he faked a card. I don't get why that's not a tip you wouldn't jump all over.
Well, I mean, look, would we jump? Would we assign somebody to it? Maybe. It's not. I'm not the one who makes that call, but it's. Okay. But like I said, we're not the only news organization in the world. All we are is look. We want, like I said, we want to vet the president. Again, if you want to spend your time doing that, that's fine. We have
no. This is a form of vetting the president, though. If there's a
I understand, and we encourage everybody to vet the president in their own way. We're not the only outlet for vetting the president, obviously. And if people disagree with me on this, then go for it. I'm not how people vet the president is their business. I'm not here to tell people how they should or should not vet the president. So I'll retract that. If you want to make this an issue, then go ahead and make it an issue. It's just not something that I'm particularly.
So you're saying I'll have to do it without your help, though?
On this issue, you'll have to deal without my help.
Even the selective service card that has nothing to do
even the selective service card at this point.
My goodness, this is shocking. I mean, really, you said if people have a tip to send it to you, I think that's a tip, and you don't want it. I don't get it.
Well, no, I mean, look, I'll be honest. There are people inside our organization who look at all the tips, and when we saw this, and you're not the first person to bring up this tip. When people bring up tips, we tend to check them out. What our internal researchers have told us is this is not a legitimate thing. So, I'm basing that on us vetting everything that comes through the door, and that is something that we do.
Okay, vet everything that comes through the door. I'm going to send you a video that I actually produced for Sheriff Arpaio, strictly on the selective service card. If you feel the birther thing is a waste of your time, I'll respect that. But I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to ask you to pass it on to whoever looks at this stuff and see if it can't be useful to you, because I think that's a very important issue.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.